Bit of dust in there. I mean, I was surprised. We were planning on repairing this, and it's in fantastic condition. But it's a bit dusty. Yeah. I mean, so maybe I got the impression it had been looked after, but maybe it hadn't. Maybe it's just not been used.
Yeah. So what we got going on in here then, Kev?
So yeah, there's a big thing I've not mentioned.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can figure out which one it is. That thing there, I believe that's going to be the TED chip. I'm assuming, and the TED chip, it was just short for text editor, TED. But it's actually a really clever bit of for 84. You know, it's early days of chip system on a chip. You know, you've got the sound in there, you've got the graphics in there, and the CPU all in one chip. To cut costs, you know, that was the idea. We wanted a cheap business computer. Okay, the SID chip is hugely complicated, so it's got to be left out. So they have to make a simpler sound chip, 2-channel thing. I've got to be honest, I'm quite impressed with the sound. So it's not that bad. It's just that obviously after the C64, it's not that impressive, but still, you know. So we have 16K of RAM.
I'm assuming that's over here. Is this?
Yeah, I'm assuming these are little.
I wonder if that's sort of. I wonder if these are sort of organising the memory chips.
Right. Okay.
So maybe that's the memory.
It's MA. It's not going to be DMA, but it's it's just memory management gubbin. These have got to be ROM or something. Let's find out what these are. Yeah, programmable logical array. So that's got to be the ROM.
So that's the CPU, yeah.
Looks like it, yeah. Oh yeah, 501. Yeah, but I call it a 6502. 1.7 megahertz. It's a bit. You can see it's not cutting edge technology, can't you? You can see it's a budget computer just by looking at the board. At the time,
they all looked a bit like this, didn't they? I mean, you'd actually say there's more stuff on there than there is in a Spectrum.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Spectrum is the mega cheap. It's just very, very clever design.
I wonder what this is. This is sort of like a.
Oh, that's the.
Like a MOSFET or something. That's the power regulator there.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, memory 16K RAM, 32K. Microprocessor 7501/8501 with a 2-speed clock, 0.89 or 0.176, 1.76.
I assume that's something to do with using the TED.
Oh, there's a 555 on here, U10. I'm marking Q5. Yeah, Q5 is a transistor. It says transistor. I'm sure that's MOSFET. That's quite big for a transistor.
Oh, right. Oh, you mean the...
I was saying that. It's labelled BCE, so...
It's a massive transistor.
Yeah, that is a transistor. I wonder what... that's what I mean. I wonder what it's controlling.
Oh, it's a voltage thingy regulator.
Is it?
I think so.
Oh, that's strange.
Doesn't look like it, does it?
And what's this?
Well, it could
It's
just be a knock
something
gate,
to do with the cassette, actually.
Ah, right. Well, yeah, the tape interface is there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So yeah, so that's the TED. The TED is actually video and sound and a bit of DRAM.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe some sort of memory access RAM. And that's your 6502. So it doesn't have the 6502 built in, but for the time, it's still quite an achievement to get all that in one chip.
Mm-hmm.
You think, look at the BBC Micro, which is a massive board of 500 chips, which was kind of normal, I'm sure. I mean, I've never had a PET, but I bet if you open a PET, it's like 500 chips. We're only a few years away from obviously Acorn started really doing that, but everything's in just a chip. And it uses zero power.
So, the American version, did they have this modulator here? What do they have here? Because presumably that's just...
It is really
unnecessary,
strange.
Isn't it?
Yeah, really strange. We look at the VIC-20, but it doesn't have one. And to us, that's really bizarre.
Yeah.
It's got composite out, so you need a TV with composite, basically, or a monitor. So I think there's probably still in the times when people would be buying monitors and spending lots of money because, even the VIC-20 was still at the time, you had to be quite rich of computers. It was a very rich man's toy, whereas by 84, that had changed completely, and everybody had one. And didn't have one, they had to get one, even though they didn't know it before. It's for helping us with our homework. How does it help us with our homework? Very useful later in life. I mean, both of us essentially have got a whole career out of it, but it didn't help us with our homework. It stopped us from doing homework.
Yeah.
Yes, remember, although before computers, obviously, kids just played with pegs and couldn't wait to do their homework.
I used to play with pegs, make peg guns.
Mm-hmm.
Right then.
Yeah, that's the C16. There's not a lot to say, really.
No, so it's got, that's the processor, that's the TED chip. So that's the interesting bit then, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the magic box that makes it cheap. Performance-wise, I mean, what is it in competition with? It isn't really clear what it is in competition with. I mean, is it in competition with the Spectrum or the ZX81? If it's in competition with the ZX81 in 1984, it's way too late. If it's in competition with the Spectrum, it's got no chance. Even though on paper you can say it's got 121 colours, it's, that 6502 at 1.7 megahertz should be faster at certain things than a 3.5 megahertz Z80. It should be the equivalent of sort of 4 megahertz Z80. And yet, in practice, not a chance does this stand up to the Spectrum. And a lot of that is down to RAM. A lot of it. If it had 32K,
it'd be there.
They just couldn't do the value for money thing. They just weren't able to do it, and it's a shame.
I love looking at these old computers because you sort of, if you notice the technology, we're still in this era of through-hole, circuit boards.
That's the thing.
There's no surface mounted here. It's all sort of, you can put a soldering iron onto this quite comfortably and mess about.
Yes, there's no metal bits to cut yourself on.
No chips like that big or resistors about that big, massive banks of them.
Yeah,
it's all quite
it still looks like the days of the enthusiasts electronics kit.
Yeah,
it's trying to ape Sinclair. Then that's literally what it was.
I mean, you think today, look at all this space down here and around here, yeah? Could you imagine that in anything today?
Yeah, and you realise how much of it is cosmetic.
You could put a pinball machine in here or something.
yeah. I mean, people criticise Alan Sugar for that he would design the case. He was big on what he cared about. Does it work, and what does it look like?
Yeah.
And often the case was designed before the computer, and they had to design the computer to fit the case.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Allegedly, that happened with the PS3. In the cell chip, they'd already made the case, so they had to scale the whole case up. So the cell chip, which no one remembers, which is going to be in all appliances, so it would fit. That's why the PS3 was so big.
That cell chip, they sunk billions into that. It was Sony, Toshiba, and Intel, wasn't it? And
yeah,
they come up with this massive, really. Ooh.
It's so powerful. How do you work it? I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. People got used to not have to think about hardware.
Yes.
And how to write software for hardware.
Yeah.
I think if you're a games programmer, you don't want to. Okay, I've got 8 cores. How am I going to do this?
Multi-thread programming. Anyway. I don't know if I'll put this video on this channel. I think I probably will. We watched the debate with Sinclair and Alan Sugar and all that, and they're talking about what Sinclair himself is saying. What was the point in the 68,000 then? Nobody knows. And it's a similar thing. Is that the problem? All those terrible early ST and Amiga games, which if you didn't have those games those machines at the time, it's shocking to go back and think, really. It cost like 500 quid. Good grief, Outrun and Robocop and games like that. It was because the 68,000 was this new nightmare. It was very powerful, but no one knew how to. And obviously, people learned, and once they did, it was great. But So yeah, the question of what the 68,000 was for, it was for games, wasn't it?
Well, people wanted to play arcade games at home, didn't they? They couldn't understand why graphics were so good on an arcade machine.
Yeah. So you need And that's the problem in a home machine. You can't have all that custom hardware. It's just too expensive. You know, you've got to have some sort of, even the Amiga, you know, it's some sort of compromise to have it mass produced like that.
Okay.
So, should we compare this with the C64?
Oh yeah. Should we?
Yeah. Right, let's open the C64. I'll just peel back the warranty sticker, which I can stick back on again.
You've lost your 12 months warranty, Kev.
Well, not really. I can stick it back on. Terrible warranty sticker. It's very typical Commodore. Yeah, so much of the Commodore story is about how badly it was run. They had the world in their hands, you know. The C64 was the biggest selling home computer of the 80s. Yes, it was. I think maybe the NES sold more, but other than that, the home computer.
Yeah, look. It takes 5 volts DC in and 9 volts AC. Still. That's the problem we've got with the VIC-20. It takes 9 volts AC.
AC?
Yeah, look.
So 9 volts AC goes in?
Well, you've obviously got 2 supplies going in. You've got a 5 volt DC and a 9 volt AC.
I didn't know.
I don't get that. It's just like...
Well, the Spectrum is 9 volts DC going in, but bits of it are 5 volts inside.
Yeah, you would put 9 volts... Well, you put 9
DC
volts
in
in and then regulate down to 5 volts, and you'd have a 5 volt bus and a...
Yeah.
Or a 5 volt supply and a 9 volt. And if you want a 9 volts AC, why you would want that?
Yeah.
It just seems...
And again, it's a weird Commodore thing with power. And it... To us, anyway, it's like a US thing. That all American things have got massive power supplies that melt. You know, my original... You know, I don't have my original C64 power supply because I had to get a new one at the time because it melted. I mean, it's a little bit of a shame that this is a C64C. But I mean, by the time the C64C came out, Commodore had no clue what they were doing. You know, they had the Amiga, and it wasn't selling in the US. Well done, Commodore.
How did that happen?
I know. And we didn't know, did we? And then
No,
Commodore went bust. We were like, huh?
It was like, how can they possibly go bust? Everyone wants an Amiga. Everyone's got an Amiga.
Okay, the CD32 was a bit comical. Still, that's not going to kill them, is it? Yeah, because they're screwed.
And
Atari was less of a surprise because nobody bought Ataris anymore.
Well, that's it. Atari lost the battle, didn't they, essentially?
Yeah. There we go. Notice straight away you've got the much more modern keyboard setup, and most computers did that at this point. That was the thing. The ST Amiga, the Archimedes, all had that. This removable keyboard thingy, and you can just lift it off. There you go.
He says.
Screwed in. I've retroboted the top half and not the bottom half. I really like the look of it actually, with the very brown keys, with the retroboted case. It looks great. It's still got a sort of vintage look to it. It's pronounced. Yeah, but I mean, apparently by this time, Commodore was. It was all very crudely done. Whatever was lying around in the factory, they'd stick it. Oh, we've got 100 of them. Just make some with that. You know, it was that kind of thing. So yeah, we'll just lift the keyboard off, I think. Well, I'm not going to disconnect it. But that's good.
Yeah.
You know, you've got a separate piece there, so it's very clever. Still those terrible keys, those same terrible keys on the VIC-20s that kept doing because it looked like a C64. And you'll notice, of course...
We've got some shielding. Is that shielding or is it...
It is shielding, but for no purpose. It's for the law.
Look at that. So that attaches to that. That's going to be a right pig to get off, that is. Without, you know...
Oh, you're right, yeah. Oh, God.
Well, no, you can do it, just
look through the holes.
There's a chip there.
And it says 865... No, you can't see the rest. Yeah, this was to do with laws about, you know... electric discharge and all that stuff. So that's why it's just a piece of card, because it has no purpose. And the Amiga's got a real one.
Is it?
Yeah, and I was terrified when I opened my Amiga, thinking it was, you know, must have some terrible static problem. It doesn't need it. It's just a stupid legal thing.
That's well in, that is.
So yeah, I mean, this is my 30-year-old C64C. this was a big deal because, you know, we had a Spectrum for a good 5 years before we got anything other than the Pong machine. So the C16 was a big deal, and I was astonished how big and crap it was after the Spectrum. You know, it was all about efficiency and design and elegance, and these massive boxes with huge power supplies, rubbish. But selling that to get the C64 was the best thing ever, because the C64 is awesome. But I was late to the party, you know. At this one, I was trying to think what year it was. New Zealand Story was new, so New Zealand Story had come out. I bought that on the Spectrum, and this must have been the same year for my birthday in March. I got it for the C64, so I reckon maybe 88. It could be 89. I'm thinking. And the C64C was new, and I thought, oh, actually, that looks all right. It doesn't look like a rubbish bread bin. Now, of course, it's less interesting, isn't it? Because it's, you know. First of all, okay, that's a different modulator. That is a deeper modulator. It's very similar, but it's bigger. You can see this is quite a bit bigger. I mean, the board is bigger. There's a lot more space.
Well, yeah, maybe they're starting to make use of the space, because you can look this sort of this inductor here, whatever it is, that's bigger than this one. I think they're just making better use of the space, maybe.
These little resistors, that's very neat. Looks really cool.
Yeah, but then look at this.
Yeah, so yeah, let's find our 6502. There it is, 6526A. That's got to be it. Interestingly, it's some of them are socketed and some of them aren't. Now I've had this from new, so this has never been opened.
God, it's quite. You consider you open a PC,
yeah,
and have a look at what that looks like inside. Just because these things don't need fans, isn't it?
Yeah, ultimately that's what it is. And yet some things look age better than others. I mean, my Archimedes, it looks like new. There was no dust in it. It's actually brand new. It makes no sense. And yet my Amiga 1200, which is kind of the same, looks quite tatty. I have no idea why that is. Neither of them have had a lot of use. See, there's quite a few chips there. Well, we found the CPU, so I'm assuming that thing next to it. So I'm assuming that's the ROM. I'm assuming. It looks like a ROM chip to me. We've got 64K of RAM. If it is, the RAM is a long way from the CPU. It's a long, thin computer. It's a QL.
What's this here?
I don't know.
Because that's surface. Well,
yeah,
it's not socketed.
You can see this is later technology. These are much more accurate. There's a bit blobby with the solder. There's a bit of corrosion there. Or is that? No, it's dust. You can see that the legs are starting to develop as being much smaller. So I imagine this looks different to an original C64, which will look much more like the C16. I would imagine. I'm guessing. So you've got 65268 at either end of the board. So it's on the CPU. It's got two. One of these is the SID, and one of them is the video. I wonder if these two big ones, that's the SID and the video. Actually no, I've started looking at the board now. Yeah, okay, that middle one there, that's the 6502, 8500. You can see by the tracks. That's definitely 6502.
Where's the SID chip?
I don't know. Okay, let's guess it's this one.
We should be close to the modulator.
Because this is actually the revised SID chip. It's the cheaper version. And samples are really quiet, sadly. That was really annoying when I was a kid. Got the 1982 computer playing samples at all, and they're pretty good. It's pretty good at it. Oh, right, yeah. Oh, yeah, they're labelled, yeah. So U6, I reckon, is the Z8, 6502.
That's the SID.
Yeah.
That's the CPU. Maybe it's U10 and U11. What are those?
Oh, 10 and 11. Oh, they could be. They're tiny chips, but remember by that time, they could be two little 32K chips.
Yeah, I think there's one of the pins is labelled RAM read write.
Right.
And so that's connected to the U8.
Which pin is it?
Pin 4. What is U8 then? Which is that one? That's a memory controller.
Oh, right, okay.
So you got a massive chip to control these two little chips.
Yeah, that's the sign of the times as well, isn't it? When the actual memory is as tiny, cheapest possible.
So this is a memory controller. This is a processor. This is the ROM.
Yeah. We haven't figured out what this is yet. There's U2 and there's U1. U1 and U2. And they're the same chip and they're at either end of the board.
U1 and U2.
Yeah.
U1 6526 CIA.
It's the CIA. It's because it's American. It's the spy chip. Spy on the rest of the world.
Complex interface adapter. An I/O port controller.
Right. It's I/O. Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it? That's why there's one at either end. So this is for your serial, probably for the tape controller as well. This is obviously it's for the modulator and the cartridge port as well.
Probably a
And
cartridge,
joysticks.
So we're getting there.
Yeah.
So we've got
Good idea what's going on.
CPU. This is a memory controller. This is the two memory chips. This is the SID.
So that must be the GPU. That's
Maybe-
the CPU and that's the GPU.
Yeah.
That's the SID.
Okay. Oh, it says
6
VIC.
4.
It just says U7 VIC.
Oh, the VIC chip. Yeah, it's the VIC chip. Yeah.
What's a VIC chip?
Graphics chip.
Is it?
Yeah. This is the VIC 2. That's the VIC 1 in the VIC 20. Nobody knows why it's called 20. You have to remember this is the VIC 22. Although it's not compatible.
Right.
Same principle.
So pretty much there now.
Yeah. The only thing that's surprising is the I/O is all the way over here. The cartridge port is there. Everything's happening here.
It does make you wonder if it's sort of if they're sort of making use of the space now, because like I mean you got the big.
Yes. I want. Yeah. It's a shame we haven't got an A. I wonder if it would be completely different. And you look, there's nothing. What it has to go round here to get to the modulator. At least the video here, it's just there. It's obviously these chips here and whatever. We've got a better understanding of that than the C16, I think.
Mm. I mean, we could do the same, but it's quite lengthy, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. Right then.
Yeah.
Shall we mess about with them?
Yeah, let's have a play. Let's plug them in. Now we've broken them, and see if they work. So yeah, C64, C16, and at a later date, VIC 20. What's really interesting is, of course, the VIC 20's got a different case
Yeah.
to the C16. What would they make a new mould that's the same?
Yeah, that's strange, isn't it?
That's just, and again, it's Commodore. They're just terribly managed. Terrible. Making terrible decisions. It's awesome hardware.
I mean, it's all very early, wasn't it? I mean,
Yeah, no one knew what they were doing.
no one knew what they were really for. It's
Yeah,
just
well, they weren't for
wow,
anything.
this is so cool.
Yeah, what are they? What is that good? It plays games. That is its only purpose. You know, and yeah, you can do spreadsheets if you want like 30 column. You can't have 30 column. 40 column.
But I think it's the potential, isn't it? People, because obviously the potential is proven. Like the Turing machine, theoretically can do anything, and that's what it is. It's a Turing machine that can potentially do anything. So
yes, I mean that argument is an argument for the Spectrum, in that the Spectrum is a blank slate. It doesn't really do anything, but it's very clever design, which means it's very fast. This is built for games, and it's fantastic at it. Just like the Amiga.
dun 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 dun.